YouTube, what's the vibes? Global CeezyCeezy back in here, you feel me? Today we doing something a little different. I don't really do much reactions on this channel, but I might as well. We about to learn Filipino history today with Global CeezyCeezy. Everybody tells me, learn the history, learn the history, learn the history. Kind of know a little bit about the history. I don't know the full in depth, but I know the history of colonialism in the Philippines. I know like the presence of America in the Philippines, and I can kind of see the cultural influences in the streets in the Philippines. But we're gonna do an in-depth history. Like, I honestly want to know a little bit more. I honestly want to understand the culture a little bit more. And history was my favorite class other than Spanish and math. But let's learn about something today, man. You gonna learn something new, and I hope this shit's true, because history is sometimes inaccurate. So for my Filipinos, if anything in this video is wrong, get in the comments and sound off.
The history of what is today the Philippines started with the arrival of its first humans. It is believed they used rafts or boats around 60,000 years ago, with groups of diverse people settling in the archipelago. Some of these groups started to develop and expand into bigger settlements, and in the next thousands of years, they evolved into what some scholars believe to be considered early states. Austronesians and afterwards speakers of the Malayo-Polynesian languages began to arrive in successive waves beginning about 4000 BC.
Okay, so I wasn't wrong when I made that video when I said their language sounds like or looks like Malaysian. Okay, there's Malaysian people there, Polynesians. I think I knew they're Polynesian. It's more like the vibe there is more really like, what you call that shit? A Pacific Islander vibe. And yeah, I know about the Aita tribe. I know about the Black tribe. You feel me? A lot of y'all tell me, look up Black tribe, look at Black tribe. I know that. You feel me? That's why I went to the Philippines. I know that.
According to the existing evidence, a jade culture existed on these lands, starting with the Neolithic Era. By 1000 BC, it is believed that the inhabitants of the archipelago had developed into 4 distinct kinds of people: tribal groups, warrior societies, the petty plutocracy, and the harbor civilizations. Also important to note is the fact that the metallurgy reached the archipelago due to trade with India. Around 300 to 700 AD, the seafaring people of the islands began to trade with the Indianized kingdoms in the Malay archipelago and the nearby East Asian principalities, adopting influences from both Buddhism and Hinduism. Some cultures of present day.
So they started off with Buddhism and Hinduism, like Thailand and India. Now the country's mostly Christian though.
Vietnam showed evidence of an extensive trade network. Artifacts and goods were traded, such as glass, agate, or gold. There were also other items present in the region which were most likely imported, including ear ornaments that have been found in archaeological sites in the Philippines, Thailand, and Taiwan. The Indian culture influenced the Southeast Asian region, starting with the 1st century. During the period of the South...
I was wondering why there's so much Indian influence in like southern Thailand too, and Malaysia and stuff.
Indian Pallava dynasty and the North Indian Gupta Empire,
everywhere.
Indian culture spread to Southeast Asia, and it reached the Philippines, which led to the establishment of new kingdoms largely influenced by the Indian culture and traditions. The date inscribed in the oldest Philippine document found so far, the Laguna Copperplate inscription, is 900 AD. From the details of the document, written in Kawi script, the bearer of a debt, Namwaran, along with his children, is cleared of a debt by the ruler of Tondo. This is the earliest document that shows the use of mathematics in pre-colonial Philippine societies. A standard system of weights and measures is also demonstrated by the use of precise measurement for gold and other items, as well as in astronomy. From the various Sanskrit terms and titles seen in the document, the culture and society of the Manila Bay were that of Hindu Old Malay amalgamation, similar to the cultures of Java, Peninsular Malaysia, and Sumatra at the time. In the years leading up
That's crazy, because Manila reminds me of like Medellin or something like that, like Latin America.
1000. There were already several maritime societies existing in the islands, but there was no unifying political state encompassing the entire Philippine archipelago. Instead, the region was divided into numerous semi-autonomous city-states under the rule of the plutocracy, while a number of states existed alongside the highland societies. These smaller structures alternated between being part of or being influenced by larger Asian empires like Maya Pahit. Around 1225, the nation of Mai, a Buddhist pre-Hispanic Philippine island state centered in Mindoro, flourished, attracting traders and shipping from the kingdom of Ryukyu to the Empire of Japan. Chao Jakua, a customs inspector in Fujian province, China, wrote the description of the barbarous peoples, describing trade with this pre-colonial state. Its people were noted for their honesty in trade. Much of what is now Indonesia was ruled by the Hindu Maya Pahit Empire. During the 1300s, this empire ruled over Luzon Island and the Sulu archipelago. As more and more influence was on these islands, skirmishes and battles also existed. Some local tribes were waging incessant guerrilla warfare against them. Eventually, the kingdoms of Luzon regained independence from Maya Pahit after the Battle of Manila, 1365. Sulu also re-established independence, and in vengeance, assaulted the Maya Pahit province of Brunei before a fleet from the capital drove them out. The start of the Islamic era in Indonesia set the collapse of the Maya Pahites as its provinces eventually seceded and became independent sultanates. In 1380, Makdum Karim, an Arab trader born in Johor,
Bro, we want to hear about modern shit, bro. You talking about 1380s?
Philippines. Additionally, Sharif ul Hashim,
But I know y'all want to win this shit. I know y'all want to win this shit.
established the Sultanate of Sulu by converting its previous ruler, the Hindu king Raja Baginda, to Islam and then marrying his daughter. The Sultanate of Maguindanao rose to prominence at the end of the 15th century. Meanwhile, the religion was introduced to the area by Muslim missionaries and traders from the Middle East, Indian, and Malay regions who propagated Islam to Sulu and Maguindanao. As before, when Buddhist and Hindu cultures influenced the archipelago, the same case happened with the Muslim culture. Upon the secession of Brunei from the Maya Pahit Empire, they imported the Arab emir from Mecca, Sharif Ali, and became an independent sultanate. The new religion started to grow roots in the Philippines through conquest and conversion of local leaders in the next decades. Moreover, Islam was further strengthened by the arrival to the Philippines of traders and proselytizers from Malaysia and Indonesia. In 1521, the Spanish reached the archipelago through the expedition around the world, led by Portuguese-born
Okay, this is the history we want to know about.
Ferdinand Magellan. Claiming the islands he saw for the Spanish Empire, he established friendly relations with some of the local leaders and converted some of them to Roman Catholicism. Because the Philippines are a large archipelago, the Spaniards started to explore many islands. However, the explorer Ferdinand Magellan was killed during the Battle of Mactan against the local ruler Lapu-Lapu. Over the next several decades, other Spanish expeditions were dispatched to the islands. In 1543, an expedition was led to the islands, naming them Philippines, in honor of Philip of Austria, who became Philip II of Spain on January 16, 1556. The name was then extended to the entire archipelago later on in the Spanish era. European colonization began in earnest when Spanish explorer Miguel Lopez de Legazpi arrived from Mexico in 1565 and formed the first European settlement.
That's why they not act Mexican, but that's why there's a Mexican influence in the Philippines. Like, they got like a Mexican vibe.
In Cebu,
But I don't want to be racist.
And military annexation of some lands, incorporating local states, including the Kingdom of Tondo, the Spaniards established Manila as the capital of the Spanish East Indies. In 1578, the Castellan War erupted between the Christian Spaniards and Muslim Bruneians over control of the Philippine archipelago. The Christian troops were so diverse due to generally being made up of people under the Spanish rule, including Native Americans, namely Aztecs, Mayans, and Incans, who were gathered and sent from Mexico and South America to be led by Spanish officers that had worked together with native Filipinos in military campaigns across Southeast Asia. The Muslim side was also very diverse though. They were supported by the Ottoman Empire, with their troops consisting of Malay warriors.
Damn, Filipinos is diverse. I didn't even, like, I could see that, bro, but so they got Native American roots, people there, Spaniard roots, Native roots, the black people from, you feel me? They got Malaysian roots, Chinese roots. Damn.
Expeditionary forces sent by the Ottomans, which included mainly Turks, Egyptians, Swahilis, Somalis, Indians, and others. The conflict ended with a status quo antebellum. Just 20 years after the conquest of Luzon, remarkable progress existed in the work of colonization.
That's why I said in my
one
of my videos too, I was like, you can't really tell what a Filipino looks like just by, you feel me? Because all of them look different. Like, some of them do look the same, but like a lot of people just have different features. You feel me?
Of Christianity. A cathedral was built in the city of Manila with an episcopal palace. Other monasteries and churches were built across islands, and more people started to convert to Christianity. Furthermore, Spanish and Mexican families settled in the new lands, creating stronger communities. Much of the archipelago came under Spanish rule, creating the first unified political structure known as the Philippines. Spanish colonial rule saw the introduction of Christianity, the code of law, and the oldest modern university in Asia. The Philippines was ruled by the Mexico-based Viceroyalty of New Spain, and after, the colony was directly governed by Spain. Many of the local people revolted in the next centuries due to some abuses made by the Spanish authorities. Their rule ended after the American-Spanish War at the end of the 19th century in 1898. The Philippines became a territory of the United States. The United States then established the insular government to rule the Philippines. In 1907, the elected assembly was set up with popular election. The U.S. promised independence in the Jones Act to the country, and the Philippine Commonwealth was established in 1935 as a 10-year interim step period to full independence. But before gaining total freedom, in 1942, during World War II, the Philippines was occupied by Japanese forces. By 1945, the U.S. liberated the Philippines, and the Treaty of Manila in 1946 established an independent Philippine Republic. The period of their independence was marked by internal skirmishes and a smaller period of dictatorship, but also huge progress and development, with Manuel Roxas becoming the first president of the Independent Republic of the Philippines. The United States seceded its sovereignty over the Philippines on July 4th, 1946, as scheduled. However, the Philippine economy remained highly dependent on United States markets. Roxas died suddenly of a heart attack in April 1948, and the Vice President Elpidio Quirino ruled the country until 1953. Some communist partisans existed in the islands, but were defeated in the 50s. Additionally, an important event happened in the middle of the 1960s. Ferdinand Marcos took power in 1965 and ruled until 1986.
An Asian man named Ferdinand Marcos. Yo, bruh, the history's all over the place. My man's look Chinese. He got like a Spanish name. I don't know.
This era included the final years of the Third Republic from 1965 to 1972, and the Philippines under martial law 1972 to 1981. His reign was marked by dictatorship and instability. In 1986, Ferdinand Marcos was removed from power and replaced by Maria Corazon Aquino. Up to the present day, 5 other presidents ruled the Philippines.
Okay, so that's a little brief history. That's what, okay, it's starting to make sense, you feel me? Like, a lot of the history is like all over the place. A lot of the history is like Spanish, China, I don't know, Spanish, Malaysian, not Islam, Christianity. So it's kind of confusing if, like, I don't know, man. If you Filipino, describe how life was back then, describe how life is now. Like, is it really like, do people know their roots? Do people know where they come from? Because I notice, like, people be claiming we're white. You're not white. You're Asian. People be claiming we're Spanish. Okay, some of them do literally look like Spanish, like Latina. Some of them be claiming we're black. We have black roots. I don't know about black, but they definitely got some like Southeast Asian look. But a lot of people say some of them are from Africa, like their roots are in Africa. And I'm like, huh? I don't know how, like, I can't really fathom how people would get from there to there. It's kind of confusing, bro. Like, some people say they're African roots. Some people say their roots is in China. Some people say their roots is in Spain. Some people say their roots is in Mexico. And I feel like a lot of people just find one to claim and then just stick to it. But I don't know, man. And I feel like a lot of people try to like discredit Spanish history in that country. A lot of people will try to like cling to like American history. People don't really talk about their Spanish heritage. When you mention like Spanish stuff, people aren't really educated on it. Me as somebody who's traveled, who's been around different cultures, I can clearly see there's a lot of Spanish influence more than anything in that country. But there's also hints of like Malaysian culture as well. But I don't think they identify with Malaysian culture either. So Philippines is kind of weird because it's not just a country, it's a bunch of islands. Like you said, Apiarago, I don't know what that means, but it's like a bunch of islands, and the islands have like different types of people. It's a little confusing, and that's one thing that like held me back from going to the Philippines for a long time, because I couldn't really understand the geography. I couldn't really understand the people. Couldn't really like understand the culture. I'm still learning the culture a little bit, but like compared to Vietnam and Thailand, everybody knows something about Vietnam culture. Everybody knows something about Thai culture. You feel me? Even if you're not really aware of those countries. But Philippines is like, I don't know. I didn't grow up around Filipinos. I stay in America. We don't have Filipinos. We have like Chinese people. We have Vietnamese people. But we don't really have Filipinos. So I didn't really know much about Philippines. And a lot of people say, oh, you should have researched the country before you went there. The point of going to the country is to research. You feel me? And learn. I can't read about something and just learn about something I've never come in contact with. That was some good knowledge. It really reassured me on certain stuff. If y'all got some more information on the Philippines, if y'all got some other insight, if I was wrong about some stuff, let me know in the comments, sound off. Let me know if y'all want more history videos or reaction videos. Global Ceezy, we out.
Came up out of dirty part, man. How the fuck I made it out the friends? I don't do no wifey, don't do friends.